during 这个retreat， 我在第二天的早上，so during 那个 breakfast 的时候 ，because of 那个食物不够，然后我的 mind 就被 stir out。
OK。
then the next day 3，同样的 incident 又 happen，then 又是那个 food 不够，just a small matter， 但是那个 mind 又被 stir out。OK。then so after breakfast 了，我就去 have a walk，就是 BVE 这样子走。然后就在下午的时候，我就在看这个Dharma book。这个 essential Dharma of Lord Buddha。Then brother 那时候我在看到这个the 5 way to overcome the unwholesome thought 的时候，我在看到这个第4个的那个
trace the origination。
对所以我在读的时候，然后 brother 你在里面你就在有解释说怎样去 trace the original factors， 然后怎样去看自己的那个view， 然后去看那个然后去 contemplate 那个 three right view。然后过后我再看到这个 sentence， 你这个 sentence 你在讲 in Mahayana there is such a thing as repentance， asking for forgiveness。当我在看到这个 sentence 的时候，他 strike 我了一下，然后我就想到，
很好，
我的这些我这个 morning 只是一个 breakfast， 我的 mind 就被 stir， 这个是我的 evil root， 这个是我的 wrong view。然后我就在 contemplate， not 不是只是在这个 breakfast，even 在 daily life 里面。每次只是有时是一个很 small 的 matter， 那个 mind 就被 stir， 所以我就想到，这是我的 wrong view。然后我就很 sincere 的我就去 ask for forgiveness。我就想到不止这一个 breakfast， 还有我过去我每一次 react 的这个 wrong view， 我都去 ask for forgiveness。and then 我讲这个forgiveness it be accepted by all， 还有就是 make aspiration， 我不要再去repeat 这个 wrong view。So after 我 ask 了 forgiveness， 我就去冲凉。我冲到一半的时候，哇，很多那个鼻涕一直 arise，
很好。
然后过后我冲完凉了以后，哇，那个鼻涕还是 continue， 所以我就去 garden 那边去 have a walk。我就看着那个 garden 的时候，哇，那个鼻涕一直 arise， 一直 arise， then 过后它就变成gratitude， 那个 feeling of gratitude 就一直 arise， 一直 arise， so 过后第二天我在 continue 读这个 Dharma book 的时候，完全不一样了。就你的那个 Dharma 的那些 wording， 那些 sentence like。它是 lively 活起来了的。我想这么昨天看这些 Dharma 只不过是一个understanding， 是一个 advice， 一个 pointer。今天我看的时候，每一个字它是活的，来是 lively 的。你可以去每一个字来，你是可以 cultivate 的，你可以去就是它是活的，不是死的。我讲，中国今天这个 Dharma book 的每一个字都是这样活起来的 ，lively。then 过后我就在 reflect， 所以我讲，这个wrong view 真的是很怎样讲呢？很讲讲，它是一个很 serious 的一个 karmic 来 obstruct 我们。然后我就在想，我讲，如果我们没有去 ask for forgiveness 的时候，这个 wrong view 它就会变成那个 dependent origination。然后我们的 mind 就一直被 stir， 你就每一个 moment 你的 wrong view， 你的 opinion 就一直会去 stir 你的这个你的 mind。然后你就一直在里面，一直这样子转，一直转，那个 karmic 又在里面。Suddenly 我的里面就想，这个就是 First Noble Truth 里面不他讲的 grasping of the 5 aggregate of form and mind。然后 Suddenly 我就明白，原来不他所讲的这个5 aggregate of form and mind grasping 是 refer to 这个 second aspect 的这个 form and mind，the
mental 5 aggregate。
So在 the next day 的时候， 我就突然间我就 recall， 我觉得我在那个当我站在 garden 有笔地的时候，有一个 moment， 我不懂是发生什么事吧，我讲不出。过后我就在看到这个final summary of the Satipatthana 的时候，在那个笔地的这个这个 factor 里面 ，Brother 你就有讲到，这个笔地是一个它是
enlightenment factor，
对，它是 enlightenment factor， 它是spiritual calmness born of mindfulness without thought。
Yes，
然后我就在 recall 回我在 garden 看住那个 garden 的时候，我发现到那个 moment 我变成是，其实我是在 direct seeing 里面了，
对 silent，
对。然后我在看住那个 garden 的时候，我有一个 moment 是没有 thought， 没有 label， 没有什么，那个树就是没有 wording 的，全部只是来 just as it is， 全部我可以来，它整个我在看住那个树的时候，它整个像是 pause 住了，停住了，然后没有 wording， 然后全部是它的然后我的内心讲，这个就是本来的面目 ，original， 就是我看着那个东西是完全是只是它的没有 wording， 就是它的 original。
Means you are using your awareness nature to see。Observe. That's what the direct seeing is all about. So you remember, what is sati? Sati is awareness before the knowing. That is your awareness nature. When you are just aware, you are without thought. And because of that, when you are mindful, instead of using the word awareness, is actually you are mindful. The Theravada use the word mindfulness. Is actually mind in fullness, full of awareness. So when you are aware without thought, you are in sati. Your sati very stable. That's how the spiritual faculty, you see, when you have sati, which is a spiritual faculty, you always first, which is a spiritual faculty. Yes, from sada, it condition virya. Then you go all out to cultivate. What do you cultivate? Heedfulness, which is sati. The moment you cultivate sati, what happens? The third enlightenment factor will surface. Why? Because when your mind is calm, composed, without thought, when it's in sati, piti will naturally arise. Then when piti arises, your mind has joy, spiritual calmness, spiritual joy, composed. Then sometimes the sankhara become like very, very orderly, very calm. The sankhara like settle down. That's why there is this piti. Then sometimes you can also see nimitta, the manifestation of nimitta. It's when you are mindful, aware, without thought. That's why when you do awareness-based meditation, initially you see a lot of these things. You understand a lot of these things. So what he is going through is very good. I explain a little bit before you continue. So, you see, when he saw that sentence in the Essential Dhamma book, that in Mahayana, they call this repentance. Means you have to develop repentance. Repentance means what? You develop repentance by knowing that what you have done in the past is wrong. Like Sakyamuni said, whatever that happened or arise, there are causes and conditions from the past. There are causes and conditions behind. Then he also said in the 5 daily contemplation, we are all born or heir to our karma, condition and supported by karma. We are what we are because of karma. So definitely it has a lot to do with karma. So for it to continuously stir you and arise, means when there is no condition, it does not arise. You know how it arises or not, because you went to this retreat not as a participant. You are a helper, understand? You feel you are responsible for the rice or for the food. That's why that sense of responsibility, which not only you have, A lot of cultivators have. That one actually caused their karmic obstruction without them knowing. Where you are over what they call over one. You put too much emphasis on your duty. Like, this is my fault. It's my duty to see to all this. That's why when you learn Dhamma, you cannot be rigid. Condition like that, things will be like that. The duality will come and haunt you and create karmic obstruction and make you stir and become uneasy. Like you said, your nature actually has the understanding that this is a minor thing. But why did it stir your mind and make you like that? Then luckily you read that book and you know it's from the past. That's why asking for forgiveness, developing this repentance is very important. Do not underestimate all this. All these are karmic obstruction, or what they call condition that will manifest if you don't know how to develop the stability or wisdom to break them. But the problem with this karmic thing is, initially, the karmic obstruction somehow will prevent you or obstruct you from breaking free. That's why you have to ask for forgiveness. Irrespective that whether you are a very good cultivator or you have already programmed, forget about it. Even I still do. Because I don't know. When this thing happen also, I don't know. My nature like that, I still do. Why? Because this one is unending. Karmic is unending. Even when my nature connect, then I won't make mistake. I will know all this. But before my nature connect, when the form and mind come, you can still make mistake. You understand? Even this life as a bodhisattva, before I connect at the age of 35 in 1989, I was like a normal being. Of course, I have my karmic nature, my spiritual nature to protect me from major evil and all those things. But certain things, I remember I still kill mosquito and all those things when I was young. But I don't know what this thing is. Then when my mother asked me to kill the rat, I can't. I don't know why, but I can't. Then my nature later on, no. There are a lot of things when I was young, let me see. Then this life is after my nature has this understanding and cultivation, and yet it can still have this type of minor thing before it connect. What will happen to all those lives before I did the cultivation? The aeons and aeons and aeons before. I don't know what happened. You can be heedless, deluded, and full of ignorance, doing all those funny things, especially during non-sasana. We never know. That's why asking for forgiveness and repentance is a teaching that need to be understood. But I realize that Theravada seldom emphasize on it because I understand why the Sakyamuni Buddha teach that way. Because for sainthood way, actually you don't need to do all these things. To clear the sainthood way, you don't need, actually. You look at this Angulimala. That life kills so many, yet become Arahant. That's why it's not so serious. That's why what he wants you all to do is, he wants you all to chant, asking for forgiveness from the triple ceremony. You realize or not? In the chanting book, Kayena Vacha Chittena. So, just that one. Ask for forgiveness from triple ceremony, the teachers and all that. But living being, he never teach. Not to say he never teach. He didn't teach during the Theravada period when he had. Because what is more important is a handful of teeth, the Four Noble Truths, the three turning. So later on, when you move to the Bodhisattva way, you go into the Mahayana Sutta, you realize the repentant thing become like a big topic. Understand? Chanwei. Every now and then they will do this one, Chanwei. and the repentance ceremony, they call it a ceremony, You understand now? Not individually ask for repentance alone, no. They do a ceremony, Then they have this, what they call the Bodhisattva precept. When they transmit the Bodhisattva precept, the merit is very, very powerful. Very, like even the, what they call, when we went to Taiwan, in the booklet from this Fakusana, the Sen Fasu, it's mentioned that receiving the Bodhisattva precept is a very, very meritorious type of occasion or event. Able to receive it. So I read it, and we had a transcript in the blue book, The Bodhisattva Way. You go and read this inside there. So just imagine holding on to that, what they call the Bodhisattva precept. The merit is really so powerful. Then from there, when you cultivate, you develop all the understanding, and you're somehow able to go through all this understanding, like I put in the yellow card. Not only break karmic obstruction of the triple gem from all beings, that all other karmic obstruction, they are not covered. You just put it in, but you don't know what you have missed. And a lot of this thing is very unique to situation and occasion. That's why I put in the third one. Whatever not covered by the first two. In fact, the first two covered 99.9%. But there are some we still don't know. Like last time, through Amy, he at the retreat asked me why he doesn't believe in Mahayana teaching during that time, this time. Then my nature realized it's coming. In the past, certain life, he actually don't believe in the Mahayana teaching. And because of that, they're coming outside. So I had to add in the word, whosoever from the distant past, whether knowingly or unknowingly, that this nature of ours have committed any karmic negativity, or suffering or whatever, cause any harm, suffering or misery or whatever, then I add in the word for her, misled. Misled means you go and tell people Mahayana not true one. This one will come and haunt you. So for your case is you took the duty and responsibility of the worldly duality too seriously. Understand? You take it like rigidly, like traffic light. The traffic light spoil already. You cannot rigidly say because the rules say only green light can go. Spoil already, it will be red all the time. Understand? Then you can go and quote the Buddha say one, this precept or one. But you must know the basis behind the traffic light is to regulate traffic. If it ceases to perform that function, there is no more the training rule. Understand now? Then all the precept is given as a training rule. Understand now? To abstain. So you have to understand, these are training rules applied to people who are still under training. Understand now? And training rule has its basis. Base, when we talk about the four beautiful conduct of enlightened being, we chant, remember? The salutation to the Sangha. So, Supatipano Bhagavato Savaka Sangho. That one say, of good conduct, that of right conduct, of wise conduct, and dutiful conduct. Understand? Good conduct, no problem. Right conduct means you're righteous. Understand? But don't be deluded until by holding on to certain principle you think that is righteous. That is being rigid. Understand? what are these righteous things? Society man-made is not the real one. The real one is the Dhamma, the understanding of it. Being righteous means what? Righteous means true to yourself. No selfishness, no greed, no motive, nothing. You just do. That's why your duty, you volunteer at a retreat. Although you are given that scope to be responsible for the food or what, okay? But conditions like that, things will be like that. It's beyond you. So what is there to be so righteous and blame yourself? Understand? Because condition is such. You are not responsible. You may be the one, maybe appointed to oversee all this. But every of this has its causes and condition, the chain, understand, that leads to all this. So sometimes condition is such, it will not be the way it's supposed to be. That it sometimes come as a test. As long as you cannot pass the test, that you don't know that there is karmic obstruction, you didn't do the repentance, you'll be stuck. Luckily you saw this, then you start to do. That's why after you do the repentance, that pity, all those things start to show up. Then later on, it transforms your understanding. Then when you read, the Dhamma become, the word become like lively. We call it the living Dhamma. Now, all those that I share is the living Dhamma. It's not the rigid one. It's not about knowledge. It's not about Dhamma, what they call theoretical Dhamma. So when you start to read, you will start to understand. That's why inside there, how to use the 5 ways to overcome unwholesome thought. The most important one is the third and the fourth way, the meditative way. The third way, you have to stabilize it. Because unless you stabilize it to understand what that thing is, your wisdom cannot be stable. Once the third way, you continue to be with it. No matter what happens, be with it. Don't try to do anything. Don't try to know. Just stay silent. Then you realize every time you accept the reality, means accept what is, then everything ceases. Then no need to talk about it, no need to reason, no need to analyze. But the thought is the one that always come back to the back door to analyze and tell you. That's why whatever happens, echo and flow. 不要去stir，不要去 get angry, unhappy, point finger, blame and argue. Forget about it. You have to resolve issue amicably. Means 不要伤到人家，不要得罪人家，不要 don't create karmic negativity. Whatever happen, accept the reality. Means think it just the way it is. Be at peace. The third way, silent. Then ask yourself what happened. Then inquire, how can I resolve this amicably? How can I move? If it's meant to be, will be. If I have faith and accept, things will go our way. Because the nature has other beings nature too, and we have our nature. So if we're not supposed to have all this karmic thing to obstruct us and create all these things, that's why when you all travel with my nature, you realize like very lucky, everything very smooth, like meant to be. So this is the understanding. So 你了解了，你就懂得怎样去处理 do what you have to do. So the fourth way to trace the origination factor, that one is very important. That one, 你一定要 silent 你的 mind with the daily mindfulness to really see it. No, don't just read it and think you know. Because if you don't go through it, it's not so like penetrative one, the awakening. But when you really see it with your mindfulness and saw how your memory through your conditioning, habitual tendency, starts to come out and condition your mind to react, then the awareness of it is very different. Then you saw, hey, all the while, this type of habitual tendency, because habitual tendency is very difficult to root out. Even the Tzu Zhen Yan Faster, also realized it's very difficult to root out habitual tendency. So that one involves karmic and many other things. So habitual tendency is a tendency of the mind through heedlessness, which has repeated endlessly that type of activity. That's why sometimes it can continue for a very long. These are habits that our form and mind that come do. And these habits are carried on, understand? That's why we had our DNA, we had our preference. So when we come, those things follow us. So you have to understand. Like you all say, you all know relative like Hamyi, Falampo, which is very true. But the thing is, when there is no condition to eat, I got no problem at all. Understand? So the problem only arises when there is no condition also you want to eat. You purposely ask them to travel there. No, I won't ask for it. I will say, is it on the way? If it's on the way, then we go. Otherwise, forget about it. Why? We can eat so many other things. And to try new things is also one of the delicacy of life. That's why they say variety is the spices of life. So you have to understand that whatever you like doesn't mean you must have craving for it. I may have my habits, my preference, and all things, but when I live life, I am different. There I live with understanding, repentance, 那个很重要. Then cultivate the fourth way. It's not just Dhamma understanding. To trace the origination factor, you have to silence your mind and completely silence. Then go into the daily life, the stability of daily mind. Then observe, silence. Then how it stirs. Don't link to the Dhamma so fast. Through your mindfulness and awareness, you will see one. But it has to be very stable to see, to trace the origination factor. That's why when I silent that time, when my daily mindfulness, then I saw a lot of things that I never see before. Even the thought process, like I used to share with you, or like slow down one, like slow motion one. So I can be at the moment of contact, at the moment of sense experience. Means in the seeing, there is the seeing consciousness. Then how the content of consciousness going through the memory, the views, opinion. But when I'm here, I realize that one cannot move. Understand? That one move is because last time I was at the head. That's why these are very fun. Very fun. Then when here, I want to know, I can know. I don't want to know, I can know. Then that movement, although there is still some like very subtle type of like activity that can move, because that is what memory is all about. And you will see all this and you will understand. That's why I knew acting according to memory is not acting at all. These are your views, your opinion, your condition. And these are the wrong view. That's why it conditions your wrong thought. And what are wrong thought? Thought that condition our fear, our suffering, our misery, our unhappiness, our light and dislike, creating all the duality of life, the thinking, the heedless thinking, then the analysis, the reasoning. All this is to trap us. These are mundane activity, mundane movement, the mundane mind's egoic activity. And these are egoic movement, sankhara. That's why you finally will understand sankhara anicca, sankhara dukkha, dhamma anatta. Think also like that, don't think also like that. Why you want to think? More important is what? The reality. Think is just the way it is. At that moment, condition set. Condition once set, it has to go that way. No other way. Understand? That's why delay means delay. Happen already. What is your choice? You got two choices. Become miserable over it and become sorrowful, lament, and become unhappy. The other way is to accept that reality and move. With what? With wisdom, with understanding. Accord and flow. Just let things be. After all, not so real. He know you, he know me. No mark, nothing. No mark of life, no mark of Dhamma. No mark of all things. So that feelings, the three hallmarks, will start to surface and develop that stability of wisdom that is so different. Understand? So, union, the first hallmark of no thought, is already established because you all have the understanding. But when you can be mindful and aware, there is no thought. Right? Then through that, the direct seeing, awakening to realize no mark is not easy. No mark of a self-cultivating. That one, you still have to go in and develop the understanding and root it out. But you have the initial wisdom, all those things already. Then you have that connection to the nature, and you can have the understanding. But your problem is due to your karmic past or whatever. You still deceived by the thought. Understand? The subtle movement behind Sankara, the subtle, that one that want to analyze, that want to reason, that wants to give you the idea that you are responsible and you take it so seriously. When you take life too seriously, means you do not go into the understanding. Means you don't have the real wisdom to understand life. Well, life has two parts. One is the conditioned world. What is the conditioned world? Duality exists in the conditioned world. Always remember that. Right and wrong, all this human duality, the egoic movement, all things, Sankara activity, the Four Noble Truths, they exist within the conditioned world. But within the unconditioned, from your awareness nature, all this, like the Heart Sutta say, doesn't exist. The Four Noble Truths, Sen Lao Ping Si Wu Yin, all not there. And these are the marks. Mark of a self, mark of others, mark of life, mark of Dhamma, everything. These are all marks, like what Shen Hua mentioned from the妙法蓮華經. The real mark is no mark. And yet nothing is apart from the mark. What are the marks? The marks are within the conditioned world. The duality. These are all marks. And what is the real mark? The unconditioned. That's why the real mark got no mark. But nothing is apart from the real mark. Then the real mark covers the whole thing. Like the Tao. 一切都是如如. That's why 如来佛, the dust come one. Everything is dust, suchness. 如如. That's why Krishnamurti also know what is the reality, suchness, accept.
我这一次的这个在 retreat 里面，我很大的感触就是这个 law of karma，这个 law of karma 真的是很 important， 它是一个很重要的一个 right view。Correct。这个去 understand 它 ，but 就很像你讲的，当你不能够 understand 的时候，它又在那边是 obstruct 你，你又走不出来。
对，
所以。哇，我也是，我就在这一次里面，我忽然间我觉得哇，这个 law of karma 真的一直在里面转如果你没有这个 understanding，
it's a very very wide and extensive topic. That's why in the Theravada Sutta is mentioned this law of karma is so complex, complicated that only Sama Sambuddha and great being can understand this law. The rest cannot. Even the sainthood way cannot. You have to be real great beings and Sammasambuddha because the law of karma is so extensive the variation, the possibility is it's just like the Wu Liang I Ching. The Wu Liang I Ching. First chapter is virtue of Bodhisattva. That one quite easy because you are control, you know. The second one is preaching the Dhamma. That one you have to understand all this right view very extensively, like the Wu Liang I Ching. That's why you have to come again and again for eons and eons and eons. Otherwise, perfect Buddha. That's why it's called a perfection. No? All the virtue you have to perfect, you know. Pursue something very strict. That's why I say the sainthood way is nothing compared to the true cultivation of Sammasambuddha way. When the Bodhisattva way. So don't worry. Even though it's so extensive, it can be done.